I love gold. The look of it, the taste of it, the smell of it, the texture.
What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr Games, and today, as the title and the intro suggest, I am bringing you as golden as possible Eldlich Invoked. Now, the deck has had a lot of reprints. We've just pretty much got the exact full core reprinted in Maximum Gold Eldorado, and it's very easy and cheap to pick up, not to mention this amazing alternate art of the Golden Lord as well. I'm going to dive straight into the list, show you everything we've got. I've tried to make this as gold as possible, and I believe there is only 4 cards in the main deck that have not had a maximum gold, if not a gold rare print. The extra deck is a little bit different, but this deck is great to be utilised as a cheap, easy route to go into the game, and a very good balance between control decks, very simple fusion plays, options, and kind of everything else. So with all of that out of the way, let's dive head first. We'll start off with the Invoked engine, or the Invoked part of it, including the hand traps. So, zooming in, we do play triple Alistair, the Invoker. Pretty straightforward on this one. This is your go-to normal summon, leads you into Macabre, also leads you into stuff like your Raijin. It can also lead you into Purgatorio, so it gives you both defensive and offensive options. We then have triple Magical Meltdown. Sadly, this did not get a maximum gold reprint. It would have been nice if it did, because then it would have been able to combo off nicely with its Invocation counterpart. Finally, I believe, and don't quote me on this just yet, this card should be a lot cheaper and easier to get. This is like the card's 5th print, and it is still like 15 quid a card. Like, this has to crash the prices. It looks awesome in gold. It's a very cool card, and I'm actually really happy that we got it. Then, of course, we've got the 1 Terraforming, so that is a gold rare. Then moving on to the hand traps, I tried to keep these as gold as possible. So double Ash, double Ghost Mourner, and double Ghost Ogre. Now, a lot of you people might be like, whoa, 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 why have you got Mourner and why have you got Ogre in here? Well, as I've said a million times before, not a lot of players are expecting a Ghost Ogre to be dropped. So, keep in mind, look at stuff like the Sword Soul running around right now. If you were to Ghost Ogre the monster that is producing the token, yes, you leave them with a tuner, but you take away their non-tuner option. It may be a little bit easier for them to get a non-tuner out. However, by Ghost Ogreing that particular card, it takes away their resource. It also means that if you were to Ghost Ogre the Mo Yi or the Luguan, you do stop them burning you for 1200 or drawing an additional card. So you're taking away all of that advantage from them just by simply going Ghost Ogre. Now, obviously, it's going to be more specific for Mo Yi, less so the Long Guang, because the Long one happens in the hand to summon everything, whereas the Mo Yi is on summon, trigger to reveal, and that's where Ghost Ogre can come out to play. Now, the Ghost Mourner is purely because it's a brand new card. It is a card that I would like to pretty much utilise, and it is an alternative option to Effect Veiler. Alternatively, this can be a Ghost Bell, as it did come out in gold as well. Another very, very interesting little thing that I noticed is, even if you include the Golden Lord, with this particular lineup of hand traps, Golden Lord and Alistair, you could utilise the card Small World. Now, the way you can do that is because Alistair's defense matches any of the hand traps. And on top of that, with your access to Ghost Ogre, it matches the attribute of Eldlich the Golden Lord. So playing it correctly, you actually have a route to get to any of the hand traps you might want, but also any of your Alistair or, of course, Eldlich specific routes round. Now, I haven't put Small World in this deck because I haven't fully kind of mastered the utility in this particular build, but it is something that you could highly consider if you're looking for something to spice it up. For the final hand traps, of course, we do have triple Infinite Impermanence. Again, another card that came out in gold. Do not worry, you don't have to play this deck in maximum gold. This is just for a route, because I think this was like the closest complete competitive deck you could put together using as many of the gold cards as possible. But you do have this as a much cheaper alternative as a super rare. So that's it for the Invoked components plus the hand traps. Now, what about the Eldlich and the rest of the deck? Well, for the Eldlich, we are playing 2 of the Golden Lord, utilising the alternate art. I really like this art. I think it's such a good kind of use for this particular, and I love the fact that he's outlined, so it looks like he's hovering, and then you've got the details in the background. I love the sunset. I love the golden tower. It just, yeah, it's so nice. So this was one of the first alternate arts that I really wanted to get hold of. Then, of course, triple Cursed Eldland. So this was the expensive card of the Eldlich deck, but has now been massively plummeted thanks to this. What you do need to keep in mind that a lot of players forget is with Macabre on the board or any non-zombie on the board, they cannot attack if this is face up. So to utilise this the best, you kind of want to make sure you're searching with Cursed Eldland, and then you get your Lord to send this from the field to the grave to summon him back. That way you're not locked out of attacking. It's also something to keep in mind that if I expect this to get a lot more playability and a lot more people will be playing this deck, is one thing that you need to keep in mind of, that if they have Eldland on the board, they cannot attack with anything apart from zombies. Then we do have the one Elixir of Black Awakening alongside the single Elixir of White Destiny. Now, you don't need to actually use White Destiny. I just think it's nice and cool to have an alternative option should you want to. We've then got triple Conquistador. This is the one that when it's activated while you control a Golden Lord, you get to pop a card your opponent controls, alongside its counterpart of Huequero, which lets you banish one card from your opponent's graveyard. Now, they obviously all have their graveyard effects, which are basically they let you set a golden land or an Elixir spell or trap. So with the golden land cards, they set your Eldlixirs, which can, of course, include your Sanguines, and your Eldlixirs, including your spells, let you set your golden lands, so that is where you kind of get the utility and the floatability around. Now, this is the target that a lot of people will try and Ash Blossom, and the way this particular card works is you do need to go Chainlink 1 Huequero or Conquistador, and then Chainlink 2 Eldlictor of Sanguine. Chainlink 2 will resolve, bringing out your Golden Lord. Chainlink 1 will then resolve, being your Conquistador or Huequero, letting you pop or banish. Now, alternatively, what you can do is a lot of people can hold the Sanguine, activate the Sanguine first, and then hold the sets. But the times where you actually trigger these is when your opponent baits you out with like an MST, Twin Twisters, Cosmic Cyclone, anything like that. Keeping in mind is when you activate Eldlixir, you are locked into special summoning zombies from that point on, which is why you ideally want to be doing it during your opponent's turn. We are playing the one Golden Land Forever. This is just the searchable counter trap. So when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated while you control an Eldlich monster, you contribute a zombie monster, negate the activation if you do destroy it. So that's where stuff like having a Huequero, Conquistador, or even a Golden Lord floating around on the board comes into play, and you're pretty much setting yourself up with an Omni Negate counter trap. Then for the cards that sadly did not come as gold, I am running 2 Dogmatic Punishment, 2 Triple Tactic Talents, and 1 Call by the Grave. Now, I know the talents might tip your budget, so you can take these out quite easily and go for something like a Forbidden Chalice, which did come in gold. That is your alternative option to stuff like Forbidden Droplets as well. You can also play stuff like Extrav, that did get reprinted in gold, but you would need to kind of zero in your extra deck a little bit more because you don't want to be banishing all of your Macabres. The Punishment I thought was a really good little tech because once you've ultimately made your Macabre and then you've got your ability to loop your Golden Lord, you don't really worry about the extra deck. So that's where you can loop the Golden Lord as your power play. It's also where you can just pretty much sit on a Macabre, maintain your hand resource without having to go overboard to constantly keep negating your opponent's stuff. The best thing about this particular deck with the Eldlixirs and the Golden Land cards is they are cards that you could, in theory, hold back in your hand and use as discard fodder for, of course, your Macabre. So you'll cover yourself from stuff like Evenly Matched, you cover yourself for stuff from any of the spells and traps you might be playing, and also any of the monsters because you're going to be recycling your Alistar as well. So that's kind of the route you want to take with those. Now that is the main deck. There is a little bits and bobs you can change around depending on the route you want to go, which is why the Eldlich engine is so good, is it can be used and abused in any pretty much control deck. You can make this a full control deck. I've seen a lot of people using the Sky Prison, and it's just basically relying on floodgates. You can go with Dragoon turbos, you just basically spit out a Dragoon and then use Golden Lord to back it up, and then you can, off the back of that as well, start utilising the Dark Phoenix Enforcer Scythe kind of loop as well. Moving on to the extra deck, we do play double Invoked Macabre, came out as a very nice gold rare, alongside a single Raijin, Purgatrio, Caliga, and Ugedes. So all of these cards have different utilities. So Caliga is a very good defensive card because it means that you can only attack with 1 card and you can only activate 1 card per turn. So when you're utilising the abilities of stuff like Golden Lord, you're actually able to kind of build a board, build a presence under Caliga, and your opponent can't, and then you get to go in for the attack from there. Utilising Ghost Mourner, Raijin can be a very interruptive Book of Moon that a lot of people won't expect coming. Purgatrio is your one-shot OTK play alongside Agedes, which can be a very good boss monster, where a tool also setting up a disruption for the pure fact that it has that ability that when it is special summoned, you get to pop a card, and then if your opponent special summons a monster, you get to pop a card as well. So it gives you that interruption that a lot of people forget, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Continuing through the extra deck, we are playing the standard Secure Gardener alongside Almirage. So the idea is you normal summon Alistair, turn Alistair into Almirage, and then Almirage into the Secure Gardener, which gives you a fire and a light, so it gives you a Purgatrio. If you wanted to, you put Artemis in here to take a bit back. Now, one card that I was amazed that someone played, and massive shout out to the French Legacy online, is Invoked, the World Chalice Guard Dragon. Now, I love this idea because the idea is that it requires a normal monster except a token, which is what your Conquistador and Haquero become when they're on the field. So if they survive, what it does in comparison to Link Spider is it gives you Invoked, which is a light, sorry, not a light, which is a wind. So that gives you different targets for your Raijin. But off the top of that as well, what it does also do is because it points towards a zone your opponent controls, if you point this towards your opponent's extra monster zone or you point it towards a zone below their extra monster zone, you actually have the ability of just crashing it and killing that card. So whatever that card is, it can deal with it really good. And that's kind of what makes it a little bit, in my opinion, a step above Link Spider. Now, if you want to, you can easily play Link Spider, but because we're not going heavy on the Link summons and we're actually controlling the board a lot more, that's where this can kind of be utilised in a lot more efficiency. So it's kind of the option why I went with it. Then for the rest of the issue, we've got the Natis to come off the back of the Punishment. We're only playing one because I couldn't really find the space for everything, but if you do have the space or you don't like any of the upcoming cards, you can swap them out. Continuing on with the gold theme, we do have the Unicorn and the Access Code. You don't need to play these. If you don't have these are easy swap outs. If you've got Dragoon package, obviously that's Verte and Goon. It really depends on what you have access to. What that does also leave you open for is it does let you have a Pallades, a Libelle, and of course a Gustav Max. So this is 2 Golden Lords, burn for 2k, Libelle, punch, clear the game off. Obviously an option to win in time as well. And then the Pallades is 2 of your Eldlichs, 2 of your Golden Lands, Haquero or Conquistador. Overlay Pallades, you've got a quick effect bounce. So this gives you more utility to play around with. They're not staples, they're not something you're going to go to in like 80 or even 90% of the time, but they are cards that you would rather have and not need than need and not have. And I think when you're ending boards, like, keep in mind that the only way you're getting into Pallades is like turn 3 after you've activated Haquero and after you've activated Conquistador, but it does give you a quick event bounce. It puts a light monster on the board as well, so that once it's used its bounce up, you can kind of get rid of it. And you're building up to stuff like Purgatrios and everything else like that. So if you can't kill the game off, that's where you go into a Pallades, that's where you can also go into a Gustav Max and a Libelle and stuff like that. So I hope this has given you a good skeleton. This isn't the like the final complete version. In my opinion, this is the most gold version you can get, which is why I kind of wanted to do it. But it can be upgraded, it can be edited, there are changes to make, and that's kind of where your own creativity and your own adaptations come into play. But this deck is still awesome, it still puts a lot of work in, especially with, until at least January, I can't imagine any hits happening to the Invoked engine, and I can't imagine any hits happening to the Eldlich engine itself. So you've actually got a lot to kind of play around with, and still a lot to utilise at its max potential. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Until next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.